So we are basically a Shabda, and what is Shabda? My wife Shamila will explain because that's her brainchild. I sort of go on with that. And, maybe the kids who are there, Abhishek, Khushi, Dev, they are part of our sort of family of the kids. We conduct creative learning, and Shamila can continue from here. Okay.
Okay, we welcome once again. It feels great to be here and be part of Sunny's endeavor in this whole thing. And it has been, I know it has been a lovely journey for you. And
thank you for having me here.
It is our pleasure. And Shabda, we've been doing creative writing and creative learning workshops for very many years now, about 20 years or so, wherein we engage with teachers as well as students to make them think out of the box is the cliche word, but definitely make them think not along the textbook lines. So that is what our work is. So we keep doing these small little hand-holding writing workshops wherein since the last 20 years, as I said, that students who are doing very well in life, but still they come back and it feels good. It's a big family that has grown around the two of us here. But today I'm going to quickly, because that's a long 20 years journey, I can go on and on and on, but I wouldn't want to do that right now. And today, what we're going to do is I'm going to start with asking questions to Aryaman or Sunny for us. And ask him essentially as to the few things. The first thing that comes to my mind, the word Prometheus. Why Prometheus? Why the name? And yes.
Starting with Prometheus wasn't really a big decision to take. First, it's very first stupid reason was that it sounded cool, but Prometheus is because it's the god of it's like the Greek god of perception. You know, he's planned in advance. He's able to, he's able to understand. And plus, it's also somewhat of a summary of my book. You can summarize it in that word. It is a bit like that.
Okay. And Prometheus is also the Greek god who, not, I don't know, but he also caught fire and he gave it to humans. He stole fire from Mount Olympia and gave it to humans. Yeah. So he's the person who started, you could say, a revolution to a great extent.
Yes, exactly. So, the person who started a revolution.
To a great extent, yes, making people think in a different way, and especially sort of stealing fire from a place where only gods had access to, and bringing it to humans, to everyone. That made a lot. That was
basically going up against greater forces of power.
Exactly. So that is what great.
So that is one way.
Very enamored with the name because it struck me. Wow, Prometheus. Okay. So having said that, and I just heard that you've been thinking, contemplating about the book, and you're a bit writer, sort of reader, as well as a theatre person, as well as a good swimmer, as well as a multifaceted talented. You have a lot of things. So what, while in lockdown, all of us are thinking, oh my God, lockdown, we have nothing to do, blah, blah, all this, and we have to wear a mask, we have to do this, we have to do that. We are literally drowning in NY and saying that, oh my God. But here, despite all that in the school, you have your homework, you have all the things that you don't want to do, you have. Despite that, you chose to complete your book. Even go to the Amazon, think out whom to give as a publisher. You had this discussion with various publishers, I know for sure. Then you zeroed in on Amazon. And gave it out to them, had to deal with them. What makes you do this? Like at the age of 17, I'm so proud. I would like to hear you talk about it.
So basically, it started with, I read a lot of books, as many people have probably know. And the thing is that when I read these books, I always somehow, before I complete the book, I think of my own ending. It's just my mind. It's just how it works. So suppose if I read a book, I just end it in my way, and then I read the author's ending, which is different, or probably it can be the same. And I always feel that why can't I create my own story, my own version, or my own thing, taking these characters or taking a new set of characters. So during the lockdown, it started for me during my holidays. So I had basically 3 months of holidays due to lockdown. I had nothing to do. There is very little things you can do sitting at home apart from watching TV. And there's a limit to how much you watch TV and all that. And I had read a lot of books. And the thing is that at one point of time, you read too much of the same genre. You want to create your own in that genre. You want to create a story you have never seen before, or you want to create your own story because you find it interesting. So and these ideas kept coming to my head. So what I did was I wrote them down, and I had a lot of material. So much material that I thought, let me write a book. Let me bring these characters to life. Let me do something with them rather than just keep them in my mind. So I started, and I didn't write much in the start. It was just around 15,000 words that I had written and had completed the book. That's when I read through, and I read it from a point of perception from a reader's point, not from a writer's point. And I saw the gaps and holes in it, which I tried to fill. And then that's how it morphed into a complete story. It was empty in the start. And then during COVID, thing is that many writers usually during COVID, they have this problem that they don't have enough research material, because some writers like to do it physically. They like to go to the place physically and describe what they're seeing. For me, I take my material from the internet, from the past, from even if you see a TV show or a movie, the background is probably some background that is existing in real life. So you can use that. So that's how the idea came to at least start writing a book. And that's how I ended up writing a book in the end.
Wow. That means you've been at it since how many years now? Been there for at least 2-3 years. You've been at it, and you've been.
It was not exactly this idea for 2-3 years, but yeah, I had many ideas flowing through my head. It was this idea that I chose to adopt because I found it the most interesting. And thriller books are literally what I like. So.
And you've been jotting down these little notes and all. Is it in your book, in a notebook, handwritten, or is it on the laptop? How are you doing?
I have a small notebook.
I'm asking these questions because we have these 3 little young children here, and I keep in our workshop we keep saying that every child or not, every human being, I would say, anybody who can read and write should always carry a notebook along, so that you never know when an idea strikes. You never know when everybody can be an author and everybody cannot be an author also. You need to be disciplined to be an author. And that is what you've done. You've been disciplined. You've been jotting down notes. You have a notebook with you. So coming to that, so then from there, how, like, after writing, what was it? How did you go about it? How was it, like, when you were structurizing a story? The other day I was hearing, the reason why I'm asking this question is, I was having a conversation with a friend, and the friend's child said that the child wanted to write a book, but she has so many characters, she's all over the world. Like, it's all Ori. So what I'm trying to say is, how did you sort of get a grip of the story and sort of be able to bind the story in X number of characters that you have? And was it like, did you have some kind of a plan in mind? Did you write the plan down and then start writing, or were you writing and the flow came in? How?
So basically, it was not exactly a planned thing in the start, because you can't really plan for something you do not know yet. You can't really expect to know the whole story in your mind, every word thought out. You can probably know the start and the end, not the whole story. You can probably know some parts or some scenes in the middle that may take place in your book. So what you must always be focus on is your main character. You must focus on who is your main character. Out of, if you say you have hundreds of characters, who will you make your main character? Now, people usually center a story around the character, but I centered my character around the story. My main character was only born because of the story. So suppose anyone X is the main character, and you can make him anything, but he should be in such a way that he should be relevant to the story. He should be, the reader should understand him. If you read the book or if you read a summary of the character, you should understand him, and that's why he is relevant to the story. So even if you have a character and you structure the story around the character, so if you structure the story around the character, you will understand the story better, or you will understand more of the character better. But you have another 99 characters to use. Now you can't use all of them because it gets overcrowding. So you have to kill off characters. You have to only focus on probably 4 or 5 characters or 10 characters maximum based on your story. 10 characters based on your story. But you can't make all of them so relevant that the reader forgets about the main character, forgets who is the main character. However, there are some stories of a group of people, say 5. So you need to have 5 main characters. But even in not all of that, one of the characters is given most importance out of all of those 5 people. So that's how your thought process should usually go. Or that's how it at least went for me. Everyone's thought process is different. But yeah, I would not suggest a person should have 100 characters. And even if you do, you have to, do the hard thing and kill off those characters.
Very good. Very nice. And that's a very smart way of doing it, because you have a theme, and then around that theme you have the story woven around.
Yeah.
Nice. Very nice. And like when you started off, any inspiration? It sounds very cliche, but you must have got some kind of a thought from somewhere. Say that एक बोलते नहीं कि दिमाग की घंटी जलना. Suddenly there's a spark. So was there a spark moment, or were you just working hard and doing it times?
There were many spark moments, but I couldn't use all of them. I probably had many spark moments. Because in the start, when it was not during the COVID times, we used to move around a lot. Like, suppose we went on a vacation, you could get a spark moment there. But even during COVID times, when you watch a lot of TV or you read a lot of books, you get spark moments from those. You get ideas. You can adopt those ideas. It's not necessarily a copyright. You can shape the idea in your way. It's your original way. You just take suppose you can take a small idea and you can morph it into something that is very unique. Suppose everyone watches Iron Man, right? Superman. Everyone knows Superman. So now there is this TV show called The Boys that have a character like the Superman, but his name is different. His backstory is different. The way he's created is different. He looks like Superman. He has the powers like Superman. So that's what you can morph your character into. Morph the idea into that fits your story, and that also helps in the development of your story.
Very good. And have you had not like when you're writing a story, have you had a moment that, oh my God, why did I take it up at all? Some kind of a thing of that kind? Have you ever had that kind, like while you were writing?
Not really, but there have been moments where I have taken up an idea and then I have said, I do not like this idea. It does not fit into the story, or this idea is very stupid. Why did I take it up? That moments have come. So at that time, you can dismiss the idea, but make sure whenever you add an idea, make sure it's not, completely, it's not so important that your story will die the moment you kill that idea. Your main idea should always be the reason your story exists. These small sparks that you get, they should be in such a way that the reader likes reading them. But even if you kill off that idea would not affect your story in such a broad manner.
Very good. And during this all this online school classes and all, did it hamper your writing? Did it sort of take you away from your laptop? Is it enough is enough kind of a thing? Or how did you manage your time with all the online work that you're doing?
So I had online classes start while I was almost in the end, almost completion. But the thing was that online classes, they were only till 1 or 2 o'clock, and I had the rest of the day. We get assignments still. So what I do is, every day before I go to sleep, at least 15 or 20 minutes, whatever ideas I have, I jot them down. I write them in the story. I don't, keep it as a bullet point. I write them into the story, so that even if I want to make changes before I publish a book, I must read my book 10 times. Whatever changes I've made, I have to keep on. There will be a lot of minor changes in the book, so you have to read it 10 times before publishing. Because when your reader reads those mistakes, he will not like it. But however, some mistakes will exist. If it's my first book, so I have probably one or two mistakes in my writing, and I did try. I have updated. I have published an updated manuscript in the end, because the first time it was not so good. So I have to keep reading my book, and unless I am satisfied with it, then only I should publish it. And during this COVID times, it was tough. There was school, but I kept at least half an hour before I go to sleep, write the book. And in half an hour, if you can type fast, you can write a book.
That means the mantra is keep on writing and writing and writing. Just don't stop. You will have
there has to be times where one person gets tired of writing. He won't exactly, it'll be like, I am writing, but is my book making sense? So that time he has to stop and gather his thoughts, his ideas, and make sure that what he writes makes sense, what he writes is good. So those were moments I had. But yes, you have to keep writing if you want to express yourselves.
And I won't take much of your time. Just the last question. How did you find your publisher? That's the last question I have for you.
Okay, publisher is something it's very tough to find. So in the end, I did a self-publishing thing. I got to know about it there are many platforms where you can self-publish from. But during this COVID time, deliveries are tough. So first, always go for an ebook, at least right now. Amazon, I knew, had a self-publishing site, but I didn't know if it was for India. I even called up Boomashi and asked her, and she gave me some pointers. So once I gathered my facts, I started with Amazon. I published it. I even called them up to find out what steps they take for publishing. So what they do. So they told me that basically I have to upgrade my manuscript. They will show me how it looks on a Kindle device, on a phone, or on a tablet, wherever you have your app or you have a Kindle device. And you have to read it then also. You cannot expect anything, because sometimes you cannot exactly trust it when you're self-publishing, because if there is a glitch, you cannot expect the publisher to fix it, since you're the one who's publishing it. So you have to fix your glitches. And I had to call them up several times. That is one thing I will confess. But I will say Amazon still gave me a lot of, they helped me a lot in my publishing. Once it was published, they in their actual thing, they take 3 days to publish. But mine was published within hours of me giving it to them. So I was happy with their service. They're very efficient, they're very quick. They allowed, if there was a change, they allowed me to make it. They did not, keep the book, and they also made sure that if there was any problems, I could call them at times. They would help me rectify those problems. So overall, I was happy with the publisher I chose. And since Amazon is it is one of the biggest worldwide marketplaces, so it was the best reason for me to publish it.
That means you want to say that if it's a good book, it will sell. It will be accepted. Even if selling comes in later, but of course it will be accepted by the publisher. That
Yes,
is
it will be accepted by the publisher.
And since it's a thriller, and lots of people are reading thrillers, so
yeah.
And you've written a good one also. So it was accepted. That is what you wanted to say.
Yes, it was accepted.
Lovely talking to you. And over to you, Abhijit, for and let's take turn now.
Yeah. Just before that, let's have a little bit of ground rules in that sense, and let's get back to the slideshow a bit, just a little bit, not much. The next slide. Yeah, just to get the people sort of that, okay. So, the audio is on mute, keep your video on, as I said, love to see your expressions, and for questions, please raise your hand or use the chat feature. I'll be the moderator, so questions are coming, and I think some questions have been answered already because our interviewer did a fantastic job, and and there will be a question answer session later also. Right now we will be starting one question answer session now. Yeah, so about Shabda, we will just have a little bit of word on that. Shabda we have been doing for the last, about 10 years or so, 20 years, but yeah, it's been sort of with interaction with kids, content development. We have a backup team which we will be introducing. We do films also, short films, videos, etc. So yeah, and definitely Nilanjana needs no introduction as far as I think the larger crowd goes. For the children who are here from the Shabda school, yes, Nilanjana is Aryaman's mother and Devashish, the proud parents. There is our IT.
Nilanjana is our mentor also.
Yes.
She handheld us through the online courses that we've been doing lately. And she literally handheld us and said, yes, you guys can do it.
Maybe Nilanjana can add a little bit.
And we have Neet with us, who is the person who is tweaking all this, whatever you see. We don't know how to tweak. So Neet, come in, please show your face.
So that sort of keeps us sort of not engaged.
And the four of us make a great team, I must tell you this.
So Neet is there, and yes, so I think the rules are there, so we will so far as go on. And okay, Nilanjana, anything you want to add to this? Then we will sort of go on with the show.
Sure, thank you. So I would like to talk a little bit about Shabda. If you're looking for any kind of workshops which are focused on story writing or any kind of communication workshops, Shabda is the place. And I'm not saying this because I'm associated with them. I'm saying this from the 20 plus years of experience that I've had in the learning design as a learning designer. Their content is great, the way they deliver. We have some kids from the workshop there. So they also would say the same thing, and they always enjoy these sessions. So if you get the opportunity, please do join their workshops. I have had fun mentoring them, hearing them, and I have learned a lot from their workshops. So thank you again.
Yeah, and we do content development of all kinds, including short features, videos, etc. And Neet, come on, let's see your face. he is one guy we can't do without, the sort of coordinating everything from his end. And okay, so shall we continue now? Let's see. And that is Aryaman, of course we know, and there is Luffy. Everybody, I think a lot of people know Luffy, including the kids of our workshop. Everybody, Khushi, Dev, you know Luffy? Yeah, maybe we will bring in Luffy after some time. Okay? Right. Now, so question answer. Let's go down with that. Let's go end the. Yeah, no. Question answers are done? I'm sorry, I didn't know that. Are you sure? Okay. So, so one is that questions are coming from chats. So we will take up that in a certain way. But as of now, those who want to ask questions right here, so you can just either raise your hand or else you can put the hand signal, and I will be sort of moderating from there. So let's see hands. Anyone? And we need videos, you know. Otherwise, those who have sort of switched off videos, I'm not getting more. So please kindly put on your videos if possible, or else put on your questions in the chat. And let's start with the children. Khushi. Okay, I have a question first for you. What brings you here?
Khushi?
Actually, I'm very interested in writing, and I have also started writing a book, which slowly, when my mind is filled with ideas, I'm trying to write it. So what inspires me to come here is that to meet someone like me who has written a book and has also published it, and I'm very inspired. So I thought that why not ask some questions, be inspired, and meet.
Great, great. That's great. So what's your question?
Yeah. My question is that when you finished your book, whom did you contacted to publish and do illustrations for the book?
I think he has answered part of it in the interview, but we can always take it up. Okay, Aryaman,
Yeah,
over to you.
sure.
Actually, I left it that part.
All right.
Okay. I didn't exactly. First, I went online and I searched for self-publishing sites or where I can self-publish my book, because it's always better to do it like that. I then contacted Bubumashi because I know that she has also published some books. She has written and she has gotten her books published. So that was, I took all this into account, and then I figured out the best way to publish it is by yourself if you're starting as a writer, because you have complete control over your book, on what happens on the marketing and everything. So in that way, I would say that you try it with Amazon. You try publishing your book with Amazon, because that's probably one of the best ways by which your books can reach the maximum number of people.
And
I hope that answers.
This is
thank you.
Yeah. This is Bubumashi.
Yeah.
So just to make it simple. Okay.
Sorry, I should have.
All right. Yeah. So cousins, Niranjana and Sharmila. So okay. Now next. I don't see hands. Okay, I'm getting the children. What about the adults? They want to ask something. Okay, Dev. Fine. Go ahead. The cousins. Dev. Let's see.
Sir, I have wrote many questions for.
No, I can ask you. I can give you one.
Ask.
Rest you can put in your chat. We will get them later. So come on. Yeah.
What is your daily schedule?
What is my daily schedule? Okay. I have school in the morning.
No, in the
And then I take-
lockdown, in the lockdown.
It is during lockdown. I have school. I have online classes during lockdown. Then I take a bit of break and then I eat lunch, and then I study or I read or I study, and after that I have I take, suppose I watch TV or I read a book. That's about it. Otherwise, when I was writing the book, it was I have online classes, I eat, I study, and then I write. That's all.
Any extracurricular activities?
During lockdown, where will you get to do extracurricular activities? But you
Yeah,
can
home.
if you have the
We're
space.
having a big private home.
It's not a private home, but yeah, I probably play with Luffy.
Oh.
Okay, any from the children? Abhishek, you have a question? Then we can move on to Saurabh. Abhishek, you have a question? Okay. I can't hear you. You have to unmute yourself. Then Saurabh. And then Swagata.
It was easy or it was a little bit tough?
Tough.
It was tough. You can say it was tough because when you write a book, there are a lot of hurdles you have to cross, like the grammar, the story, the ideas. So it was a bit tough, and it took a bit of time for me to write the book. It took a bit long.
All right, Saurabh. Yes, please. What's your question? Yeah, please.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Hello to you and hello to Aryaman. This is Saurabh. I am an ex-army officer and a friend of Devashish. And this is Shubham, my son. And basically, we wanted to just be part of this audience and encourage and be happy about the writing by Aryaman. My son himself, when he was in Aryaman, when Shubham was in standard 6, he wrote a novel himself and got it published. And thereafter, he's been writing so many other novels which are yet to be published, though. So, just we thought that to share this superb and wonderful moment with you, and God bless you. You've really been doing a very good job, and we just started reading through it, and I've downloaded it, and let's see how the build-up is very good in the initial part. Really feels good. Over to Shubham. Shubham wants to say something.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, just whatever Dad said. Good stuff.
Thank you. Thank you.
And one more thing, how have you been sharing with your dad? My son and me, we jam up a lot, doing a lot of things together. How about you?
So when I wrote the book, obviously that time it was not much of sharing. After I published it, probably the first copy was given to my dad because I wanted his opinion, and he gave me a lot of advice and a lot of feedback regarding the book.
Yeah, I have a question, Aryaman. I think what Saurabh also was that, apart from the time you are taking to write the book, probably you locked yourself in or sort of posted a poster outside.
Yeah.
Keep out, danger inside or something like that. But otherwise, how do you sort of went about with the parents and things sort of during this lockdown time? That probably Saurabh also wanted to know, that sort of jamming and things like that. Any sort of
So at one point where I, in the evening, probably when I've done everything, even my extracurriculars, even probably a bit of writing, I don't really feel like doing anything. So what we as a family do is we probably watch some TV or, watch sports or something. And my father and I, we both like cricket. And right now, because of COVID, there was not much of IPL or anything. But usually we talk about IPL or we'll watch a lot of movies. So like that.
Okay. Okay, now over to Swagata. She has been waiting to ask a question, right? Swagata?
Yeah, right. Sunny, I'm like, I just don't know. I'm so impressed and completely in awe of you right now. I wanted to ask this personally, but for people like me who write like, you know, our writing is mostly commercial. So I have to produce a lot of content throughout the day. And I hit writer's block all the time. Like, I keep on writing 300 words and then I don't know, my mind goes blank. So you're a young writer, you've just started. It will be very helpful to know if you have ever hit a spot where, you know, there's nothing coming out of your mind. And how do you overcome it? If you have ever faced it, how did you overcome it? Because your ideas will be fresh, mine are overdone. So how have you overcome your writer's block, if you ever had one?
So I had writer's block when I was writing, probably around the 5th chapter when I started writing, I had writer's block. And what happened was that I didn't know what to write. Even though I probably had a brief idea, when I started to write, it was rubbish. It felt rubbish or gibberish, or it was basically not, I didn't like it. So what I did was I left it for the day. And suppose if you have written 300 words, write those 300 words and leave it. Come back to it tomorrow. So I came back the next day with a fresh mind, or probably with a new idea. And then I wrote it down. So that way it was better.
Wonderful. Okay, I'll try that.
I'll have to sort of shorten it because we are running out of time. He has to do some reading. So last two questions. Sorry, Kushi. No, just two questions. Two persons. So they are holding. One is Aritra, who said his mic is having a problem. Are any of your characters based on some sort of a real life or something like that? Do you have anything?
Okay. No, none of my characters are based from actual real life, but I have, you know, based one or two characteristics from, you know, probably a lot of TV shows and the movies I've watched. So my characteristics are based from there. You know, it's some basic characteristics, and from the books I have read. So it's basically a compilation of a lot of things.
Okay, Madhumita, I think wants a question. Please let it be short and simple.
Yeah. So first of all, hi Boo Boo, and then Aryaman, we are so proud of you.
Thank you.
Every now and then you come up and surprise us with your new talent. But given a choice, what will you opt for in future, theaters or writing?
Okay, that's a tough question. My parents are laughing. I would probably not go for none right now, because
tough question right now for a
writing is something I can do in the future. Something I can do in the future without opting for it actually.
It's a tough one.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a very tough one. It's a very tough one. So,
but keep surprising us.
As a career path, I am not sure of writing, but as a hobby, and I will take up writing and theater.
That's great.
So yeah, that's the answer.
Keep surprising us with your new talents.
Third option. Thank you.
Last question. I'm getting the name S. Burman. Can you please re-identify yourself? Just give your name and ask the question.
Yeah, hi. Okay, so Sunny, mine's a very easy and quick question. So this is for my 13-year-old, okay? So he's done with his Harry Potter anime, and he's done with his Anthony Horowitz. Now the library is shut, and he wants to buy some series, but he doesn't know what more to read at that age group. If you can suggest some good books.
Okay, there are a lot of you know, you can ask him to read someone from an author called Mark Walden, and there's Leon Colfer for Artemis Fowl. So there are a lot of suggestions there.
Artemis is done. Okay, so yours next.
Yeah,
and then
Mark Walden, he has written a book called Hive.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have read a lot of around his age. I also read a lot of, you know, teenage spy books or, you know, those fantasy books. So yeah.
Sure. Thank you.
And last question, how much time did it take to write the book? I think you have answered, but somebody was still...
I never actually timed it, but it took me quite a while. So I would say 6 months.
6 months. Okay, that's great. It must have. So you started when? Before the lockdown?
Oh, he said
Yeah, you said.
Yeah, I actually started the basic framework before lockdown.
All right.
I had actually delved into the writing, but during lockdown, I had the time to do that
Right.
because
Now,
I had
get
vacations and lockdown. So
right. Let's get on with your reading part. That excerpt that you had specifically mentioned.
yeah.
So we have.
I'm going to read a small excerpt from the book.
Anyone has
As to
issues
get
with the time because we are rare. If we are running out
We
of
just
time.
want to say that we're beyond time, but
No.
we want to continue talking about it. And
So
we
any
are going to
guests
go on.
who want to continue, please you are welcome. Those who
And
have sort of short
Aryaman, please
duration.
start reading. We are
please.
waiting
Okay.
patiently to hear you read.
Yeah. Please.
Yeah, sure. So I'm going to read a small excerpt from chapter 4 of my book. I don't want to reveal much because once you get the book, then you'll probably understand it. Okay, so I'll start. John and James got into James's Renault Clio 4 and made their way to Marvet's safe house. They parked their car 2 blocks away from the safe house where Hello's team was camped. John got out of the vehicle and saw the rest of the team huddled inside the mobile control center disguised as a maintenance truck. James got out of his vehicle and commanded his team to huddle up. The 3 men from inside the van came out and stood in a horizontal line. It was obvious by the way they moved that they had all once served in the US Army or Marines. James began introducing each of them to John. Mark, codenamed Delta, was a sniper. He was tall, lean, observant, and didn't talk much, and mostly kept to himself. Juarez, given the codename Overwatch, was their on-site analyst. He was of Mexican descent, wore spectacles, very thin in shape, clean-shaven, and the kind of guy who preferred to stay behind the computer rather than in the field unless it was an absolute necessity. Their last member was Nick Boehmer, codenamed Goliath. He was the team's strongman. He was heavily built with muscles almost as big as Dwayne Johnson. He had a beard, a mustache, was bald, and about early 40s in age, as far as John could figure out. These 4 had no family and thus making them perfect for being a strike team stationed away from their country. In the event of their arrest, the world would miss them, and CIA can easily wipe their records, turning them into ghosts. The closest thing they had to family was each other. John was given the codename Eagle, as it was the standard codename given to liaison agents on the team. Lastly, James, who was the team leader, had a codename Alpha. After the introductions, they started making a plan. Overwatch showed John the schematics of the building that they had acquired from the public archives. The only occupied apartment, according to their surveillance, was the apartment on the 4th floor. The building had no adjacent rooftops, 1 fire escape, 1 main entrance, and 1 back door. They were going to strike at 2 a.m. in the morning. John checked his watch and it was 1:30 a.m., which meant there was about half an hour left until they had to gear up and get ready. John went to Juarez to check if there was any activity coming from inside the place. He then picked up the fake DGSE badges and huddled up the team. After John handed out fake DGSE badges with their names on it, he briefed them about the operation. The complete details of this operation haven't been disclosed to you yet. The main reason is because this op is not sanctioned by the US government, and if we get caught, we will be disavowed by our government. We are monitoring a very dangerous assassin who goes by the name Marvet. He is an infamous assassin responsible for over 72 assassinations. He's extremely dangerous, and our orders are to capture him and not kill him. Since we don't want to alert the French government of our presence here, I have given you all fake DGSE badges and tactical uniforms to pass off as French agents, just in case you run into any French authorities. We move to capture the target in 20 minutes, so gear up and get ready. The team dispersed from the line and started gearing up. They were strapping their Kevlar vests on, and everyone except Mark was arming themselves with FAMAS F1 5.56mm caliber custom assault rifles with laser scope. Mark took out a long briefcase from the bottom of the van Inside it was a PGM Ultima ratio 7.62 millimeter caliber sniper rifle with thermal scope. John went to Juarez and asked him to check for any unusual frequencies coming out of that building. Juarez calibrated his computers to check for any secure frequencies, but as far as they were concerned, it was dead silent. John went out of the van, pulled out his phone, and called the director of the FBI. Harold was sipping his late evening coffee and talking with the assistant director, Matthew Harmon, when he got a call on his phone. He saw the caller ID and told the assistant director that it was an important call and asked him to step outside. As soon as his phone was clear, he picked up the call. Hello, go secure. Secure, go ahead. They're about to move in on Marvith. We tracked him to an abandoned building in Paris and are going to capture him in 10 minutes. Keeping you informed so that you can arrange safe transport back to the US for him to be sentenced. Understood. With that, the director disconnected the phone call. John called Andrew as well as to inform him that they were going to move in. He then rounded up the strike team and they stealthily made their way to the apartment. During the surveillance, Heller's team had spotted the various security measures, such as the motion sensors and the silent alarm. They bought a mini EMP grenade and threw it. The grenade made a small puff sound, nothing very loud, and all the sensors and alarms were shorted out. They were away from the grenade, so their electronics were not affected. Unfortunately for them, they did not notice the mini security cameras covered with EMP shielding material. Delbach woke up to the loud sound of his phone. He picked up the phone and with a groggy voice said, "Hello." A distorted voice on the other end spoke with a very loud voice. "Get out of there now. Your location is burned." Delbach immediately woke up and ran to the living room. He turned on the monitor and saw John and James wearing DGSE tactical uniforms and carrying custom assault rifles on his way to their apartment. He immediately ran to the bedroom, picked up his black duffel bag, and ran to the kitchen. He picked up a heavy brick slab just next to the front door and a bag of microwave popcorn from the kitchen cabinet. He then placed the bag inside the microwave and the brick slab on top of it. Setting the temperature on the microwave to the highest, he set a timer for 2 minutes. He then rushed out the window to the fire escape and ran up the stairs. He had anticipated that if they made a plan to capture him, they would exclude covering the rooftop, as the building did not have an adjacent rooftop. However, Delbach made sure that the rooftop would be where he would escape from, so he rented one apartment in the next building so that he would be able to escape without disturbing any residents in the next building. He jumped from the rooftop and through the window of the apartment he rented in the next building and landed inside the house. John and his team entered the building and using the stairs started making their way to the apartment. As soon as they reached the 4th floor, they were about to break open the door when a large explosion swept the whole floor. The explosion knocked the door off its hinges and it hit John and James, sweeping them off their feet and making them unconscious. Nick immediately left his post and rushed to their rescue. He saw that both were unconscious from the blast and that the door had come off its hinges and landed over them. Nick used his strength and lifted the door. He examined them thoroughly to see if they were hurt anywhere. After he was satisfied that his teammates had no major injuries, he tried waking them up. John woke up with a groan. His head was aching very badly and his hearing was distorted. He could see Nick shouting and trying to tell him something, but he was unable to hear anything properly. It took him a few moments to recover, and he could hear Nick screaming, "Come on, we have to get out of here. The cops will come any moment." John got on his feet and saw James was still unconscious. He helped Nick pick up James and took the back door to escape from there before the local authorities showed up. They brought James back to the van. Nick got in the driver's seat and got out of there. Meanwhile, Juarez started checking John and James for signs of a concussion. "What happened out there?" asked Nick. The bastard knew we were coming. He set up the explosion to get rid of the evidence and probably take us out in the process. But the bomb must have gone off early, or else we would also be dead. James was closest to the door and standing in front of me. He absorbed most of the impact from the blast. I hope he is all right. Have we finished checking on him, Juarez? Yeah, he's all right. Just knocked out. He should wake up in a few hours. All right. I want you to check every communication that went in and out of that building. Someone tipped him off, and I want to know who it is. I don't care what laws you have to break, just get it done. I'm on it. We don't rest until we figure out what happened. Nick, after we reach base, find out whatever evidence local PD has gathered and get it here. I'll work my contacts in the French intelligence and try to check if he's fleeing the country so that he can't escape. Now, excuse me, I have to make a phone call. John went to the back of the truck and called Andrew. After a few rings, he heard a click on the other end and someone said, "Hello, sir, I'm afraid I have bad news. He knew we were coming. I don't know how yet, but I will find out soon." Okay, but sir, before he could say another word, he heard a soft click on the other end as the line disconnected. John thought, he's oddly calm for someone who just lost his golden opportunity at apprehending a high-value target. Does Andrew know who Marvith is and is wishes to protect him? If that's the case, then that would mean this whole task force is a way for Marvith to not get caught. These thoughts were swirling in his head when the van braked and halted. They had reached the safe house where Heller's team was stationed. You couldn't call it a house, though. It was an abandoned warehouse that had been refurbished on the inside, but on the outside it looked dusty, damp, and heavily rusted. Nick parked the truck in the garage. Juarez got out first and brought the stretcher to carry James out of the van. Once James was safely out of the van, the team got to work. Nick wore a DGSE windbreaker and made his way to the crime scene. Juarez went to his computer station and started checking local cell towers near the scene to check for communications that went in and out of the assassin's safe house in the last 6 hours. John was outside making a call to his source when Juarez shouted, "Eureka!" John rushed inside with a hopeful face and asked, "What did you find?" There were 7 calls made in the last 6 hours. Two were made by a boy who was in the area 2 hours before us, and he was calling his girlfriend. One was made by the cab driver to his family. One was made by you. And 2 calls were made by someone ordering and then canceling a pizza. The last call was strange, though. Call was made from a burner phone to another burner phone. I tried to listen in on the call using the data packet from the telecommunication company's servers, but it was heavily encrypted and the encryption looked very familiar, even though it had been modified. Have a look for yourself. John looked at the screen. When he saw the encryption, his eyes were shocked. It was almost like he had seen a ghost. The encryption was a modified version of the standard government encryption. And this modification was done by the government to make sure that no calls were heard between the Pentagon and the directors and deputy directors of the various American intelligence agencies. John thought, now everything is clear to me. This is how he was able to evade us for the past 5 years, and also how he knew we were coming for him today. His thought process broke when he heard a soft groan coming from the bed where James lay. James had woken up and was rubbing his head. He felt like he had woken up from a very bad hangover. His whole body ached and he was covered in bruises. The half-dazed state, he looked at John and asked, "What happened?" "There was an explosion. We were knocked out. You were closer, so you took most of the impact, luckily. You don't have any serious injuries. Some rest should get you back on track." With a disappointing face, he said, "Okay." Juarez turned to John and asked, "Now, what is our plan of action?" "To catch Marvith, we have to make sure he doesn't escape from us a second time. He will be trying to flee the country, and we do not have enough resources to find him. We need to go to the CIA's Paris station and take help from there. No, we can't trust anyone outside this room. There's only one reason why I'm able to trust all of you right now, because none of you would knowingly walk into an explosion that could kill you. However limited our resources, we have to work with them. If need be, reach out to your contacts in the French police and ask them to keep an eye out. However, if Andrew or Director Hughes finds out that we know about the mole, they will tip off French intelligence of our presence here, and we will be left for dead with no extraction. So what do? We need to find the mole so that we can trick him in while we find Marveth. How do we do that? I'm unable to trace the signal because of the heavy encryption. Give me some time, I will formulate a plan. Mark was secretly watching John converse with Juarez. After hearing the conversation, he told the others he is going out for a smoke and stepped out of the warehouse and onto the street. He produced a different burner phone that was not issued by the CIA and dialed the only number saved in it. A few clicks later, he heard the other party answer. Yes, they suspect that a mole is helping Delbach. They don't know his identity yet. Good. I would like to keep it that way. He is an asset the organization cannot afford to lose. Understood. Mark hung up the phone and pocketed it. He then took out a company cigarette from his pocket, took a cigarette and the lighter from inside the pack and started smoking it. As the smoke from each puff faded into the darkness of the night, he was oblivious to the fact that this particular night was going to be very eventful and many secrets were going to be revealed.
Okay, I have to unmute myself. I forgot. I was so engrossed with the reading. Wow, it was fantastic. Thank you. As a first writer, you're unbelievable in that sense. Absolutely. I have to ask you, what's coming next?
Sorry, no spoilers.
So is there a sequel you're saying or something like that? Or is it
I will. For people who have probably read this book, I have hinted at the possibility of a sequel. So yes, I will be writing a sequel.
Right.
But it may take some time. Taking it slow.
So, you're writing back-to-back sequel, or is it something that you will consider at sometime, and meantime you want to sort of, sometimes what happens is one author writes some book, then not like Harry Potter or others sort of go on, then goes on to some other stuff or something, and maybe comes back to this after some collecting more thoughts and things. So how do you?
My idea is a back-to-back sequel at the moment. I am not in the process of any new ideas. Let me complete this one. So.
Okay, and back to back. So that's good. That's great. So to sort of wrap it up, I think we are already into a lot of extended time. Sorry for that, if it's inconvenienced others, but it was so engrossing that we simply sort of had to sort of get his reactions, and especially our audience, amazing audience, so lively and so full of questions and things. It was great. And please keep your comments coming to us. You can share them with the author, you can share them with Shabda, so that will be great. And so what we will do now is just sort of give a little bit of so the question answer is over. We have this. All right, so this is the.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.
Yes. So great to have every one of you here. Questions, please write. You have Aryaman's email, you can write to him, or you can write to us. You can catch us here, see what we do, and
thank you everyone.
Yeah. All right. So anything else we can catch up later. I think we have plenty to say, of course. Any last comments? Anyone? Keep it kindly short, and that will be great. From anyone having last comments, I'll just have to be a little bit of sort of choosy as to who we are getting and how we are getting in that. So kindly share Any last comments for anyone? Comments, feedbacks, or your own thoughts? Anyone?
So, what do you think that you are going to be choosing as a career as an author or something? Means you want to explore something else. Actually, I just joined right now, so I don't know if you have covered all this. So
Yes.
No, it's okay. I can answer that again. I'm keeping writing as a hobby right now. I'll probably not choose it as a career path.
Okay.
But never know down the line, my mind can change. So.
Okay.
Any questions regarding the excerpt that you read? Any questions regarding that? Anything on that sort? You want to have some sort of feedback?
Yeah, so you can come. Actually, my daughter was doing a workshop for 6-day workshop with sir and ma'am. So, what do you think that you also join them to encourage the young ones?
I was there for one workshop. I was just a spectator. I was just seeing, and I could see that they have it covered. They are very well done.
We have it in mind, definitely.
Yeah.
So apart from that, so let's move on for others. Yes, we will sort of take on from that. Okay, now Devashish and Nilanjana.
I think there is a question. Divya, would you like to come on video and share your question?
Yeah.
Can you repeat?
You don't want to scare people away, so I won't come on video.
Yeah.
But when does he get up hands on book 2? Because my dad already finished your book in one day.
Book 2 will take some time. It's still in the process.
I hate that. The best of authors say that. I've been waiting for my 2 favorite authors to publish their sequels for like 10 years now. So please don't do that.
Okay. I'll try as soon as possible.
He's already started to write, I must tell you. He's already started his work
Yeah,
on
but
that.
don't reveal it right now.
Nah, so
like all good authors, certain things should be kept sort of a little bit secret to be published at a certain. I mean, why don't you get sort of a that agent or something that we keep hearing about, who will publicize you and sort of. Isn't that
right now? I am not looking for. Yeah, that's the first.
You're testing waters. That's good.
Yes,
so, any other sort of feedback questions? Devashish, Nilanjana, I'll hand over the mic to you now and step back for the moment.
Frankly, I have been observing him writing this book for some time now. I didn't know that he was spending time on books. I thought he was wasting time on watching Netflix. That's typically a father would think what his son is doing. I shouldn't be too frank and open on this forum with him present, but I feel
you have been caught, now you have to do it.
No choice.
Good job so far.
No choice.
And just be nurtured more, and thank you all for coming and encouraging him. Thank you. Everybody, Sharmila Di, Orijita. I mean, you guys were amazing.
Thank you for having me.
Supported him. It's amazing.
No, it was a pleasure.
Again, let me see. Creative learning. And what we keep saying to the kids, Dimag ki batti jalao. Keep the brain sort of there. That spark should be. His spark is there. So why shouldn't we be there with him? That's all.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Our pleasure. It was always our pleasure.
We didn't do anything.
Yeah, we just sort of.
He's the one who did for himself.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything. You cannot say that. This is his book. You cannot just say that. Don't take the.
Okay. Questions?
The most important, interesting part is that he had made so many iterations to the book. He has a story for the name of the hero, that cat, and he told me the name of the significance of that name about a year back. So I asked him a few days back that does that still hold? He said, no. I have moved on from there. You don't worry. You are like, I mean, I have not told you the real things what have happened. So, but from conceptualizing to writing it down to revising it to taking on feedback and again revising it to finding publications, everything.
He did everything on his own. So he did it.
Even the commercials. He is earning 93 cents per book. So
just one question. Designing the jacket, that sometimes sort of, there's a separate agency, they charge you big bucks.
There is a question in the thing that did somebody help you or you did it on your own? That was the question.
Sorry, your voice kind of broke. You're asking, can you repeat the question?
I'm saying there's a question that asking you like designing the jacket. Is there somebody else did it or you did that too?
Designing the book cover?
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I did that. I went on a website where I wanted to first publish my book. So they make you do your book cover beforehand, even if your book is not ready. So I made the book cover and I was quite happy with it. But then I thought I didn't want to publish it on this platform. So what I did was I took the image where I had made the book cover and I did a Google search where I could download the image from somewhere. And then I just downloaded it. I put it on Amazon. They accepted it as a book cover and that's how the book cover was made.
So we need a big hand for him. A big clap to be there for him.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely gorgeous. See, he's done everything on his own.
That's smart.
He did not do anything. No one did. He was walking the path all alone, doing it all by himself. That is what is the biggest high in this whole thing. And it just gives me goosebumps saying this. And I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. There aren't too many young boys and girls doing this. Trust me. So don't take it in your head. Keep writing. That is my advice to you. And keep doing it.
Yes, I will.
Just think that this is just, we met a gentleman the other day. I'll tell you a small story. We met a gentleman the other day. He started to write at the age of 60 and he's now about touching 80. For the last 20 years, every day in his life, he's writing 2 poems. He's a well-known poet. And I wouldn't like to give his name here. So that is what the perseverance, as Roald Dahl used to say, 20 pencils all sharpened on the table, and he used to use 5 pencils. He knew which 5 pencils he was using that day. And he would write, be it anything, he would keep on writing and writing and writing. That is what you've proved. And even in today's world, you are doing it. That is what is the biggest kudos to you. That is actually, you need a standing ovation from all of us here, I would say, for that. Not too many children are doing it.
Thank you so much.
To be honest, because I work with them, and not too many children are doing it, and that is what is very, very heartening.
So, so you combined tech writing, you combined IT, you combined design, some sort of, getting the book cover, the design part. So how many other talents do you have?
Theater?
Theater, of course we will. So, yeah. So great.
I did not know that he has the ability to hack as well. He hacked the book cover.
I think that's the age. Even our son used to hack a lot of things that time, and he used to tell me, "You can't do it like this." I said that I don't have a clue how to go about it. So it's your world. Go and enjoy. So great.
That's how it is. That's it.
So everybody, shall we sort of end it now?
Does anybody have any questions, please? Because we play.
Sir, I have a question.
Okay.
Sir, I want to ask Aryaman the author, that which is his favorite book?
His favorite
book. That's a tough question. I do not actually. Favorite book? I would say the Bone books, written by Robert Ludlum, and also Dan Brown. I am a very avid reader of Dan Brown. Every Dan Brown book I have read.
Dan Brown?
Dan Brown. I think these
Dan
books
Brown.
you will be reading after some time. You will be growing up and reading these books later. Maybe other books will come at that time, and so it will be good.
So I started with my first biggest, like the most, around 600 pages. I started with Dan Brown. The first book that I read was, almost like a novel. So yeah, I would say him.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think
Yeah. Anyone else?
I think it's very important for us as parents that we just let them do what they want to do. Sometimes it becomes like, it's not our wish, which sometimes we want to fulfill our wishes to our children. So we have to be very careful of that. And one more thing that I learned with him, so long back, I think that's the reason probably he didn't share anything. Long back, he had done some writing and he had shared by being from the, from being an editor in my profession and other things, in writing. I was too critical of his writing and I started saying, okay, this is not this punctuation, this is that. And he said, I am not going to show you anything. So I realized that, this is actually wrong because sometimes we get too obsessed with a lot of things and we don't let it flow. And that's been a learning for me. And that's the reason why I'm very happy the way he did it. He did it on his own. And the entire initiative, that end-to-end, as you all said, that consistency is very important. And he took it up from the start to the end.
So Sven is asking one question.
Yeah, please, Sven. Go ahead.
Aryaman, Sven is asking a question. Is there going to be an animated movie based on the book?
I don't know about that. I do not know anything about that yet.
Listen, Aryaman, so here's the thing.
Possibly in the future, it may happen. Keep your hopes up.
So here's the thing, like, if you ever need someone to do that animation for you, Debashish and I have the startup who can do it for you.
No, I think Aryaman's next talent will be unfolded by being a director and producer and all those things. We can wait for that.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, floor open, please. Others speak. Whoever wants to. Shruti Ganguly, I think. Stan wants to identify. Please give your name and your question.
Yeah, I'm Ahan. I've been friends with Sunny ever since, we were born. We're very close friends, and I consider him one of the closest people I know in the world. And first off, I'm very proud of you, bro.
Thank you.
Great thing that you've done. Also, I was thinking, how did you come up with Operation Prometheus? What were you thinking?
Okay, I don't think you were there in the start. Prometheus is basically one of the gods who
I know the Greek
had a revolution against the other gods. He was one thing who went up against the greater force of powers. So if you have read, or if you probably in the future will read the book, then you probably will understand that Prometheus, I took him for the main reason that because he led a revolution against the gods that were on Olympus. He led a revolution against them. He conquered them. So it kind of summarizes my book. An operation because, spies and everything.
Then you have to read the book. Only then you get to know that.
Definitely.
The secrets behind it. How can an author sort of reveal everything?
Yes. There has to be some mystery in everything.
Absolutely, I agree completely. That otherwise, so okay, but yeah. Anything more? Madhumita, you wanted to say something? Okay,
actually, I want to know that Aryaman and your proud parents, that we all are excited to see you as an author, and how much pressurized you guys are feeling now.
I am actually not feeling any pressure because I like doing it. So
okay,
even if person forces me, they are forcing me to do something I like. So there really isn't anything called pressure.
Okay. Last question.
Also, one of the reasons I'm self-publishing because I don't have a deadline to keep.
Yeah. Last question, Abhishek, then Devashish, Tina, finally. Final comments.
So we are feeling very pressurized because we don't really know how to graduate from being the parents of a teenager, class 12, pushing for marks, to a guy who is writing books. Very, really pressurizing for us. We really don't know how to behave.
Exactly. That's why I'm asking that. Means that the academic he is in the means the border of the academic that he will go now college and school. That academics. How will he balance both of things? And as a parent, we think that academic is also important. कि वो एक writer बन गया है and published writer है. So the feeling, mixed feeling, and what kind of feeling कि अब क्या करे क्या सोचे. So that's what I want to know as a parent. What is in your mind? Means कैसे चलता है ये सब?
Frankly, I have no idea. I have no idea. I don't know what will take precedence when. We are just going with the flow. He is following his heart, but too much of following the heart is also not a great.
Exactly.
One has to make sure. I don't know what a secure future is. I mean, if you would have asked me this question 6 months back, the answer would have been something. But right now, we don't know what a secure future is. So let's go with the flow and see what happens. I think you may.
Absolutely. I mean, I know from my side,
Yeah, as a mother, I think we are always behind our children for, for marks, for academic. And I know class 12 boards, yes, that's there. But I think we as parents, we have always, and some people who know us here, they can always say that we've allowed him to do what he wants to do. But there's also been things like sometimes he's been good at something, but he's confused as to how to go about. So we've been there for support. Academics has been a part, but it has not been the primary thing, never for us. Even today, when he's going to give his class 12, I definitely, as a parent, I take up the role of, वो डंडा दिखा रहा कि पढ़ना है, class आ रहा है, boards है. That is there, that is going on. But it's not push, because if I'm going to push him, it's not going to happen. How much ever I try, it doesn't work out. I long run.
So it's my dinner time. I have to go. Bye.
Yes. You are in Malaysia. Dave is in Malaysia, so it's past his dinner time, I think.
So bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thank you for coming. Okay.
Bye, author sir.
Hope you had a great time. Keep writing to Aryaman if you want to know how things are developing. Abhishek, last, then we close.
Yeah, so I just want to, you answered very well actually, because as a parent, when we feel excited and we feel very, means the emotion we can't express actually. ये भी 12th में बच्चा और ये एक achievement भी हो गया है और सारा तरफ से एक social pressure, peer, में school की तरफ से भी और सारा कुछ होता है. So just I want to know that, and you answered my question. Thank you.
I'm not under pressure, honestly, at all. I'm also not looking at him to become a celebrity or anything. Always now, at this point, he has done a great thing. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, so I'm not looking at that. So I'm letting it go as, As
okay, Abhishek, final. Abhishek, that's it. We are way past. Okay, anything you want to say? You want to ask? Fast. No, you don't have. Okay, we are closing now. Great having you all here. I think more a lot of people sort of have been coming in and sometimes joined us, whatever, that sort of overstretched because it went so fantastic well. Thank you for all joining and having, I think, a very good conversation with this young budding author. And he has done a fantastic job even in this session, as we all see. That's it. Thank you, folks. Great to have you here.
Thank you.
Right? Thank you.
Thank you.
You can sort of now switch off now. Thank you.